3, which really is mainly just focusing on getting more practice with the same sets of skills that we've done in lessons 1 and 2. And then we'll have one scenario here in the examples where we'll show how to combine them. It's really important that we get solid on these. We'll do the special cases for lesson 4. So that being said, we're just going to continue to review those skills of factoring. Okay, so right here, again, we see this 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. So again, let's remember how we factor. We do the a term, remember that means the first term, which is the 2, times the c term, which is that last term, which is the negative 5. So 2 times negative 5, which is negative 10. Then we need to add to the b term, which is always that number, the coefficient in front of x. So that is a 9, or positive 9. If you want to put a plus 9 here, just to remind yourself what the signs are, those are totally fine. So what two numbers multiply to equal negative 10, but add to equal 9? So you do need to go through, think about that, right? The first things I think about when I think of 10 in terms of multiplying are 5 and 2. Well, there's no way we can get that to add to 9. And then 10 and 1. And then when I think about 10 and 1, well, if I need them to multiply to a negative, I need one negative, one positive. And then if they have to add to 9, then the bigger number, the 10, is going to have to be positive. So how about 10 and negative 1, right? All right, so write the expression again using the two numbers from above, right? So here we go, boom, boom. So we show that very first step, right? So that very first step, now you can do this here. Obviously, eventually, we're going to just do it on the right. So we do the 2x squared. Now, from here, you can pick one of these terms. I'm going to do the 10x, okay? And then I'm going to open up the second term. I'll do the negative 1x and then the negative 5, okay? And now when we do that, now we're going to continue from here, right? All right, so I have the 2x squared. I have the 10x. I have the negative 1x. And I have the plus 5. So when I do this, now we're just doing that same process that we worked with. We GCF the front term, which is going to be a 2x. I'm going to write that on the outside. And then when I divide, 2 divided by 2 is 1. Again, you don't have to put a 1 unless everything else cancels. X squared over x is just x. 10 divided by 2, 5. X over x cancels. Now here, we want to take out a negative 1. Or if this first coefficient is negative, we always take that out with the GCF. So that's going to flip both the signs. So this becomes positive, and this becomes negative. And now from here, we want to check our signs here. All right, oops, I made a mistake here. So see how these aren't the same? Well, then that's going to say to me, hey, something went wrong. See how this is a negative 5? That should have been a negative 5 here. So I made a mistake. I was able to see it, and a negative over negative is a positive. So again, that's where doing that, checking that, you go through and you make mistakes, and then you can fix them. All right, so then I get 2x minus 1 because those are the two GCFs. And now the x plus 5 forms the other factor. Okay, and that's really what we tried to learn from lesson 2. All right. All right, so as we move forward here, this is the only one where we're kind of seeing something a little different. So this is where we have a GCF and then we still have to factor. So sometimes there's a GCF in the trinomial. So right here we see these terms. So what that means is when I look at this, what number could divide into all of these? Well, can all these be divided by 3? So here's what would happen. You take a 3 out, and now you divide everything by 3, and we're left with this, right? So when we factor out that GCF, then we're left with x squared minus 11x plus 18. Boom. Okay? Oops, sorry. All right, and now we're just going to factor what's left. So eventually, when I get my final answer, see how here's type your final answer in the box to check it. Don't forget to include the GCF. I'm going to put a 3, and then I'm going to put my parenthesis sets. So I know that 3 has to be there in the end. Now I don't need to do anything else with it. Okay, now I'm going to factor what's left. So find a times c. Remember, now this is like a 1. 1 times 18 is positive 18. Need to add to b. What's that? Negative 11. All right, so what multiplies to positive 18 and adds to negative 11, right? Well, again, what multiplies 18? Well, 1 and 18. Well, there's no way to make that add to a negative 11, right? So 3, right, and 6. Okay, but 3 times 6, there's no way I can get that to get to 18. How about 9 and 2, right? And now if they're going to multiply to a positive, add to a negative, they have to both be negative. So negative 9 and negative 2, sorry. And then I'm going to jump this step just so I can start it over here. So I'm not even going to include this 3. The 3 is down at the bottom. I'm just going to include what I had in this step here. Once I take out that GCF, I am not even worrying about it anymore. I just know it will be included in my answer. Okay, so I'm going to bring that first term down, the x squared. I'm going to bring the last term down, the plus 18, just like we did from last week. And now we're going to split the middle. So the negative 11x is going to split into what? Negative 9x and negative 2x. So I'll put the negative 2x here. Again, like I proved last week, it actually doesn't matter which one goes where. Here the only GCF could be an x, so I take x out. Divide x squared by x and I get x. Divide negative 2x by x, I get negative 2. Here, again, if this is negative, I take out a negative, so I take out negative 9. And now I'm left with x, and then positive 18 divided by 9 is negative 2. And now notice I've got x minus 2, so boom, I write that one time. And then my two GCFs, x and negative 9. There you go. So there's our answer. So let's put it down here. See, I already put the 3 there. I do the x minus 2. I do the x minus 9. Boom. Okay, and again, we'll do a little bit more of these, quite a bit more of these actually, for lesson 4. So let's just practice it again one more time. So what can I divide in all this? Well, they're all even, so can I take out a 2? So I divide out a 2, and now everything divided by 2 is going to give me this. All right, so let's write it down. So 2x to the second minus 11x plus 9. Okay, and now I'm just going to factor this. So again, when I'm typing my final answer in here, I'm going to have the 2, and then I'll have whatever these other ones are, right? 2, and then whatever else is here. And from here, again, we're basically ignoring the 2. We don't even care about it anymore. So now what is it? 2 times 9, or see, 2 times 9, 18, and then it's got to add to negative 11. Well, we just did this one, right? So again, negative 9 and negative 2, boom. So let's show it again, but we'll see how it's slightly different because of this coefficient. So here we go. 2x squared minus 11x plus 9. I bring down that first term, the 2x squared. I bring down the last term, the plus 9. I split the middle into negative 9, negative 2. So here we go, negative 2x and negative 9x. I divide here by 2x, so 2x. 2x squared divided by 2x is x. Negative 2x divided by 2x is negative 1. Divide here by negative 9. Negative 9x divided by negative 9 is x. 9 divided by negative 9 is negative 1. I know I'm right because these two factors match. So I write those one time. And then the two GCFs, which is 2x and negative 9, form my other factor. So I do want to point something out here. Notice these numbers were the same as the previous screen, but that didn't mean we got the same answer, right? Like we had to still go through, do the process, and it led to something totally different, right? So you do have to, check that. All right, so there we go. Oopsies. Give me a sec. I will come back to that. Sorry. All right, so then let's do 2 more that have the same type of setup here. And these are the ones that don't have a GCF. So these are kind of the standard deals. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. It's got to add to negative 2. So what are two numbers that multiply negative 15? Add to negative 2. Negative 5 and positive 3. Right? All right, so here we go. 3x squared minus 2x minus 5. I bring down the first term, 3x squared. I bring down the last term. I split the middle into the -5 and the +3, and here I'm going to pair it up with the number that already has the same similar coefficient. It just makes the most sense. So now I'm going to take out a 3x here. And when I do that and divide, I'm left with x plus 1. GCF here of -5. Divide, x plus 1. So we know our grade shape, that's are the same, so I'm going to write that one time. And then my other GCFs form my other factor. There we go. All right, the last example here is another similar scenario. So we try to see if there's a GCF like 3, but 3 doesn't go into 13. So we do 3 times -30, -90. It's got to add to -13. Okay, so these are bigger numbers here, right? So again, this is a case where, and I mean, this really, you could do this on any of the problems. But if you get to where the numbers are bigger and you're not sure about what it should be, like you know it has to multiply -90, you know it has to add to -13, but you can't come up with the numbers in your head. That's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to use the calculator to help us, okay? So I'll demonstrate how I'm going to use the calculator to help us. Now, notice how I can go ahead and set this up. I know I'm going to do what I did so far before I even know these numbers. Now I'm going to use the calculator and I'll show you how I would do it. So if I have -90 here, I'm going to start out by, I know it seems ridiculous, but by dividing by 1. So you see I have 1 and -90, so now I'm going to go down here and do 1 minus 90. Now, what I'm looking for is for them to be 13 away from each other. If they're +13 or -13, then I can play around with the signs. So obviously that doesn't work. So 2, obviously you could change these 2 and -45, 3, so now we have 3 minus 30, 4, remember there's no decimals at all, so you get a decimal, you don't even need to do the add subtract part. So 5, so 5 minus 18, now we're getting closer, right? And now, excuse me, notice all of a sudden, there we go. So there are the numbers, right? So we got 5 and -18, and that adds to -13, so there's my number. So we're going to have +5 and -13. So I'm going to put my +5x here. Oops, sorry, this should be an 18, my bad. So my +5x here, I'm going to put my -18x here. Again, you could do it the other way if you wanted. So the only thing come out of this is an x. And that leaves me with 3x plus 5. And then back here, since that's a negative, take out a negative. And then what divides into both 18 and 30? Well, it's going to be 3. Actually, we have a bigger number, right? How about 6? So always try and look for that biggest number, the GCF. Negative over negative is positive. X comes down. Negative over negative, positive. And now notice, we got the 3x plus 5. Those match. So I'm going to type that in one time. And then the other two was our two GCFs, so the x and the -6. And there we go. And then the asynchronous work is to try and do these 5 problems. So you want to go through and try these. Now none of these have this stuff like here where you have the GCF and then do the problem, etc. So they don't have any like that, okay? So it's all like similar to the ones that we have done last week. So you have 5 questions here to work your way through. You can do your work right here. You can do your work separately, either way, and then check your answer and it'll show you a nice picture, and that'll be it for this. All right. Hope this helps everybody.